Papercut Club on Oman FM.
Hello and welcome to the Papercut Club on Oman FM, where we discover a little bit more about the world and ourselves through the magic of the written word. Today I'm going to be joined in the studio by our producer, Abdullah Al Maawali.
Hey.
Abdullah, today we're talking about lending libraries in Oman.
Which is interesting because I didn't know that we had any.
Yeah, I mean, so I know that you're not that much of a bookworm per se, but you like to read occasionally, right?
Yeah.
So even with someone who has a passing interest in books, like would you say that bookstores can be a bit on the pricey side over here?
Definitely.
You know, it hurts a little bit, even for me, you know, someone who loves to hoard and collect books. It's a bit of a challenge to go into bookstores and have to fork over that much money. So accessibility of books has always been high on my agenda of like things that I want to see happen in Oman. And anyone who's trying to get books in English, particularly in Oman, will definitely know the struggle of being able to just get their hands on some. Even the stores that we do have available also have like a limited sort of range of books. So I've noticed that there's been a number of initiatives popping up around town. And it's a little bit of a phenomenon, I feel like that's unique to Oman. I don't know about this. I mean, I haven't looked at other countries, but it's definitely unique to Muscat, which is individuals, passionate individuals who believe in literacy and the importance of instilling a joy of reading in children, especially from a young age. They've taken it upon themselves to bridge that gap between the public and books, essentially, and give them access to the books that they need, basically, or even just want. And I just think that's amazing. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody in the media, at least, talking about this. So today I wanted to sort of highlight these initiatives, look at the people behind them, find out what their motives are, because I've also noticed that the people behind these initiatives are people who aren't from Oman. So I felt like there is something very cool to discover, to explore in all of that.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah. So today's episode is dedicated to the literacy champions behind each of these local projects. They all happen to be brilliant women from different backgrounds and different parts of the world, but they share a love of books that is common to them all. And I think it's about time that we took a moment to celebrate these people and hear more from them about what they hope to achieve with their libraries.
I agree.
Awesome. I'm glad we're in agreement. Oh, but before we begin, I do want to make a little correction to my last episode. Towards the end, I stated that Hania Yanagihara's latest novel, To Paradise, is a historical fiction told from an underrepresented point of view. And this was mostly incorrect. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't fact check that point. Technically, it's a fiction that's partly set in a past with an alternate history type of situation. So to me, that sounds even more intriguing. But anyways, I just needed to make that correction and we can move on now.
That's
so let's
fair.
go back to the show. First stop on this tour is the Olsen Family Library.
The Olsen Family Library.
So, Abdullah, where do you live again?
I live in Boshar.
What?
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Oh, you thought I was living in Ma'bela?
Yes.
No, that's just for the benefit of my show.
Okay, so this is actually really, really good for you because the Olsen Family Library is actually not that far from you. It's right in Al-Ghubra. So that's pretty cool. I mean, the Olsen Family Library, in case you didn't know, is probably one of the oldest or earliest lending libraries set up in Muscat that's still running today.
Really?
It's an incredible success story.
Hi, Fatma. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm so excited.
Rebecca Olsen is the brains behind this particular operation.
The Olsen Family Library started with my own buying of used books for my kids. If I saw books at a school tabletop sale or a Facebook group, used books, sometimes in mediocre shape for around 200 to 500 bezas, I'd often buy them, stacks at a time, with the rationale that, you know, a movie at the cinema is 2 to 4 reals, and you just go to it one time, and that's per person, right? But if a 500 beza book can be read maybe 30 or more times by one or two or three of my kids. They might read it 30 times each. It certainly pays for itself more than a trip to the movies, right? So nothing against movies. We love movies. Just simple math about how much books are worth, especially kids' books and picture books that they read many times. So with that rationale, you can imagine, I quickly ended up with shelves on shelves of used books, and friends wanted to borrow them. So lending them to others only makes that 500 beza return on investment even greater. So it brings us such joy to do this now as a family, and I'm proud to say my husband helps a lot with putting stickers on the books, scanning them into our special mobile app that we use to organize everything, helping me organize the shelves. I also do make my 7-year-old reshelve the books that are returned, and he works in the library. Jude shows the guests around, and he encourages them to read his favorite books.
I've known Rebecca for many years now, and I always knew she had a small book lending initiative that she was running out of her home. But it was only recently that I was able to grasp just how far it's come.
Where we are now is we have an outside garden library. So 2 full wardrobes stocked with hundreds of books. These are open all day, 8 in the morning or so until 8 p.m., as long as the sun is up. You don't need an appointment to come and borrow books. You just come in our open gate, take some favorites, and then return later, about 2 weeks later, to drop the books off and swap for new ones. Now, the inside library, where our main collection is, requires an appointment, which you book through a link on our Instagram. Both outside and inside are special, fun opportunities in their own way. And there's nothing better than looking out my window and seeing kids swapping books outside. Sometimes they're there from the neighborhood. There's no parents. They're just thumbing through each option. It is honestly such an honor.
And actually, the Olsen Library has quickly grown to an impressive, do you want to guess how many books?
200?
Nope. 6,000.
1,000?
6,000 books. 6,000 plus. For one woman, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she does that, in addition to her actual full-time job and homeschooling her 3 kids.
What does she do?
Rebecca is the head of the American Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
So it's not like it's like something that she can easily,
Yeah, she's busy.
Yeah, she's a busy lady.
One summer, I was home in the U.S., and I noticed just how incredible our public libraries are. You can borrow not only books, but DVDs, games, art for your walls, museum passes. You can even borrow fishing rods in some towns to spend quality time with the kids. The library provides a community center in the really bad weather months. So kids can come inside and learn languages, computer coding, social studies like how to vote, do craft projects, meet famous local celebrities like the weatherman, spend time looking into a telescope. The sky is literally the limit with the programs happening at the local libraries. So adults can come too. They do job preparation courses. They learn about tax support, how to start a business. It's a place of learning and community. So we came back to Oman, and I have to say, we love Oman. We've been here almost 9 years. We're thankful for opportunities our kids have that they didn't have at home in Rochester. They can do sandboarding, live on a beach, meet people from all over the planet, learn Arabic. But Oman is missing this specific type of literary and learning-focused space that teaches kids to explore books and learn responsibility of caring for something and returning borrowed things. So we thought we'd try to make our own version for the community and see where it led.
Since I had the opportunity to, pick Rebecca's brain a little bit, like find out more about how she got all this set up, and I'm so impressed by it, I figured I would ask her to share some wisdom for anyone else who was thinking about starting their own little lending library. Because I have a very strong feeling that there are a lot of people, or at least a handful of people listening, who are thinking, I could do that.
For those who are thinking of starting their own lending library in their neighborhood or joining one of the other initiatives that are out there, I guess I would say you don't need to have a ton of books to do something really significant in your neighborhood. Even in our library, many times it's kind of the same 100 or so books that get borrowed. And I think you can make a big impact with as low as maybe 50 books. They don't have to be in perfect shape. If the words are still there. I mean, I have a few books where the ending was missing. We just don't put those. But but you can do a lot for your neighborhood. I would say have a mental policy in place where if a book is damaged or not returned, not to worry too much. Don't sweat it if you can afford it, because that is part of having one of these.
And it seems as though a huge part of this operation is all about trust.
We have to trust each other. There's a huge amount of trust for others that goes into doing something like this. So the key is not to get bent out of shape if something is damaged or not returned, because it's just part of it. And trust your neighbors, trust your friends, and enjoy the ride. You meet all kinds of people, you help others, and I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. That sounds awesome, though.
Yeah, it does
Like,
sound.
having that level of trust with your community.
Yeah, and
Trusting that the book will come back,
And actually, like, we had this conversation, like, people were saying, like, oh, but, people in Oman don't really have this is some arguments against having lending libraries. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, people in Oman don't really have the concept of borrowing and giving back, because people here are so generous. If they're like, oh, I like this, they'll be like, oh, just take it, just take all of it, So that doesn't really work in a library. And also, sometimes people might, this is some arguments that people might put forward that, it's a little bit aib to tell them, okay, but you have to get it back,
Right.
Get this book back in 2 weeks or else,
I see. I see.
But
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't know, like, what do you think about that?
I think as long as it's a policy that's put up front, like,
Yeah.
you're not telling a person after the fact,
Yeah.
it's like this clear policy, then there shouldn't be any aib associated with it.
Yeah, and I think
And if anything, I feel it fits perfectly with Omani culture and, the idea of being generous to your neighbors and giving.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, actually you're right. I do think it works so well. Like when they were saying, oh, people aren't really used to lending and they're too overly generous and whatever, I was thinking that probably if there were little libraries all around Oman, book borrowers would bring back their books with like halwa attached to it or something.
Yeah.
Or something, they just can't just give you, like when you borrow like a plate from someone,
Yeah.
like a dish, and then you have to bring it back full of something else.
Oh my God. Then I messed up a few times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God, you don't do that?
I'm a guy that lives on his own. I feel like people would forgive me. You know what I mean?
If I returned a plate and didn't put something in it, that's like, oh my gosh.
Really?
Yes, it has to come with like food in it.
Okay, noted. Can I buy food and then
Yeah.
put food on it?
I think it's fine.
So I have to pretend like I made it?
Yeah. Just pretend. No one will question it unless like
People will question
you give them
it.
poisoning and then you can be like, oh no.
No, people will question it. You made this, Abdullah?
The first thing that comes to mind is for the sustainability and the future of the library is Oman itself needs more permanent structures. So whether physical or intangible structures in place, new ways to bring the community together around a love of learning, the exploration of good books. This show is a great opportunity for people to listen in. I think my short-term vision for our library is that we see more and more engagement, reading, using the library, kids in my yard borrowing and returning books for free. We do accept donations if anyone's needing a place to put their old books. But long-term, I'd love to see these books enter into a permanent, always open, fully staffed place for easier access. Or even for now, if volunteers have time to help me offer more appointment times for the indoor library, those times that might work for more families to use it. We have a huge amount of space available in the library, but I'm really limited for myself in terms of time because I homeschool and I work a full-time job. So if volunteers were interested to support, I'd love to see special programs, story hours, craft times. It doesn't have to be complicated. Kids could come together for an hour, have a story and a craft, and other cool community-based events that could happen, especially once COVID is a bit more under control and we can start hosting gatherings again. I could keep going, but I better cut it off here. I really, really appreciate you having me on the show, Fatma, and I'll keep listening myself as a bookworm. It's really been a pleasure chatting with you.
Where can we find Rebecca?
Rebecca can be found on Instagram and on Facebook at the Olsen Family Library. That's Olsen spelled Olson Family Library, and you can see all of their information. You can go give them some support, and also remember every time you do visit one of these places that it's always just a group of volunteers. So always try to be, kind and respectful, especially as we're going into their homes,
I am Jude from the Olsen Family Library, and I would like you to come. We have a lot of titles, so you should come and read some books.
Stop 2. Oman Book Lovers Club.
Oman's Book Lovers Club.
Hey Fatma, hi, this is Anisha from Oman Book Lovers Club, and hello to everybody listening today, and hello Oman FM.
So, Abdullah, I have no doubt that you would remember Anisha from our first episode this season.
Yeah, I remember. She has a great initiative.
Yes, and I'm sure listeners will remember as well. She started up the Oman Book Lovers Club, which is a very busy bookish part of Muscat. They have a lot of activities.
When I created the group, honestly, my wish was to just be able to find a few friends, book-loving friends where, interests match, wavelengths match. However, as it grew beyond my expectation, I became greedy and more ambitious.
But today I want to focus on the lending library, which is managed so well by Anisha.
The books, borrowing, sharing, rotation system at Oman Book Lovers Club, this is how it works. Go to Facebook and join Oman Book Lovers Club, the group. Join the group, go to albums, scroll the albums, there are different categories of albums there, and comment under the picture of the book that you would like to borrow. Same goes for people who want to put up their books for sharing. Go to albums, upload one book per picture and select the albums carefully, put hashtags and tag your location. If anybody wants to put up their books for borrowing, I always handhold and support them in how to do it. But the purpose of designing this system was keeping it transparent. I'm personally a little bit high on inclusivity and being transparent and fair to everyone. Everybody is welcome. We have a books protection system, as you may call it, which has two parts: borrower protection and lender protection. So we have a borrower feedback mechanism. All the people who are borrowing books, the lenders are filling a Google form, a survey to rate the borrower on various aspects: the condition of books, the timely coordination, overall everything. This helps the lenders feel secure. There's also additionally a system of penalty if the books are damaged. Light damage, apology; slightly more damage, maybe a fine; completely damaged, replace the book. This is absolutely fair to both borrower and lender, and touch wood, in the 9-10 months of being in action, no such unpleasant incident has ever happened. But all the system has been designed after brainstorming with the volunteering team to be able to protect the interests of both parties so that everybody feels secure, everybody feels welcome, and the books are the top priority which are secured.
It's funny how I feel like concepts like these are kind of foreign to Oman. It's as I'm learning now today in this episode, these initiatives do exist and they're around, but they're not very well known, I'd say, for the majority of the population, whilst maybe in the West this idea isn't as foreign. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, I think you're right. Even from what Rebecca was saying, like, libraries in the US are practically the community centers. Everything can revolve around a good library. It just goes to show that the need for this type of thing, it's something that we all share, kind of. It comes from a place that's, I don't know, it's actually fulfilling some kind of public necessity somehow. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are put off by normal bookstores because, as I said before, they're expensive. So they're like, oh, do I really want to fork over like 8 riyals for a book, at a paperback that I don't know if I'm going to be into it, feel like a waste of money. But if you sign up to a lending library, there's literally no limit, you know, and also it forces you to get creative because you choose from what's there and you're like, oh, it's free, I might as well,
Right.
you know, try something totally out of my
Yeah.
usual wheelhouse, you know. That is literally the point and the magic of having a library,
Yeah.
you know.
I hope to be able to bring all book lovers in Oman on this platform, connecting with each other, sharing books, talking about books, and creating this platform as one-stop shop for all information on books, and specifically to the library. I hope and wish that all book lovers, once connected, whatever little books that they like to share, are able to share with each other, share recommendations, share their favorite books, and help each other increase their to-be reads, widen their horizon. You know, when people like to read a specific kind of books, and when you find good book-loving friends and they push you to read as another genre, that's how we widen our horizons. And I love doing that, and I love to see that happening. So that's, I think, what I would wish for through the OBLC library.
Thank you again to Anisha for sharing your story. Listeners can find out more about Oman Book Lovers Club from their Instagram and their Facebook, which can be found at Oman Book Lovers Club. I'm really enjoying sharing these dispatches from around town, Abdullah. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like this foreign world that exists in a parallel universe to
Like
ours.
right beneath your nose and you don't even
Yeah.
realize. I know. It's because that's the thing. It's so easy to forget or not even know or underestimate, you know, what these people are doing. And also, it's also easy to underestimate, you know, how much of a difference one person can make, how much of an impact. So what I love so much about this this particular episode is that each of these women sat in their homes thinking, I think I could do this. And then they didn't think to themselves, oh, you know, this is going to fail or this isn't going to go global or whatever, you know. They just went ahead and did it because they wanted to serve their community. And they did. And I love the fact that it was a cycle of virtue, you know. One thing breeds another thing. And this is what I'm going to come to, actually, with my next stop. Stop 3, Care Share Library.
Hi everyone, I'm Jaiza Jan representing Care Books Library Oman. I'm excited to be here on behalf of my team. Thank you Fatma, Papercut Club and Oman FM for the invite to talk about what we love most.
Oman Book Lovers Club was so successful and the demand for lending libraries was so great that some of their members even expanded into a separate club in a different location.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which is what I was talking about when I was saying about the whole cycle of virtue thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, good deeds breed more good deeds, basically.
Care Books is a free home library movement where any reader can borrow books for free from homes closer to them. And on the other hand, homes can share any amount of books that they have with other readers for free borrowing. It's a platform to connect readers with home libraries with a borrower's rating system that rates each borrower. Sharing your own books is not a condition to borrow and read from Care Books. I founded Care Books with my own home library with just over 100 books last July. Today we have over 1,200 books being shared for free borrowing from 12 home libraries. We call them Care Buddies. They're sharing books from various locations around Muscat. We have Care Buddy homes from Gubra, Darseit, Rubi, Wadi Kabir, Amrat, Madinat Al Ilm and Kurab. So the idea is to create free little home libraries in all possible locations so that everyone has access to free library books.
I did do a little bit of research into CareShare. I did a little bit of research into all of them.
AKA stalking.
Absolutely. couldn't go a day without it. But yeah, no, I noticed that CareShare had a different, like a high-tech system for loaning out their books, because all of their books are catalogs online, which is really impressive. You know?
That's convenient.
Yeah, and I was so intrigued by it, so I wanted to find out a little bit more.
For our library, we use a system called Librarica. In our Librarica CareShare Books library website, all books from all home libraries who are part of our movement from various locations are listed on one digital platform. So any interested reader can easily click on the library link and dive into our collection and browse books that they want to borrow for free. For example, if a reader wants to find books in Ruby, they can just type Ruby on the catalog search and all books in Ruby will appear. If they want to borrow Harry Potter, they can type Harry Potter on the catalog search and all Harry Potter books from various locations will appear. So a reader can choose from where they want to borrow Harry Potter from the locations that are given.
I gotta admit that is some pretty genius stuff right there.
Yeah. And what impresses me so much is the level of dedication that all of these folks have towards their cause, which is to instill a joy of reading, basically. I know, like, I love to read and I love to have my book clubs, you know, and all of that. But to have that much dedication, to be able to do this every day for free, it's a free service, you know. And in fact, in a lot of cases, they spend a lot of their own money to keep these things running. So it's just amazing. I want to shout them out again for that.
Shout out, shout out, shout out.
I'm a firm believer that each of us are capable of making the world better and happier than what we found it to be. And CareShare Books gives me that opportunity almost every single day. It really thrills me and my team that the books that we and our kids enjoy so much being read and cherished by so many others than just lie on our shelves after one read. We all know that the best books are very expensive, so the price and the distance shouldn't really stop us from reading. And when we hear stories about how our books keep kids occupied when moms are sick, when readers drive a long distance just to borrow books, how one child, she recognized the wildest beast on Netflix by a book that she had read, when we see kids' eyes light up when they come to borrow books and when they see more books. So that's what keeps us going.
I actually found out that they even launched lending libraries in Sri Lanka, Qatar, and the Maldives.
Such a random selection of countries.
It is so random, but also it's so amazing. We have something that started in Oman that is going global, from grassroots to global.
Yeah.
We started to get messages from other country book lovers asking whether they can borrow books. And when we said it's in Oman, they wish that it was there in their respective countries also. So we got very positive reviews about the idea itself, about sharing books between homes and having an online platform. There was a lot of excitement about the idea itself. We are the global free home library movement, and that is our vision. So we want to start this in every single country that is possible, to connect home libraries with readers.
What does Oman, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Qatar have in common?
The CareShare Books Library.
CareShare Books Library. Correct.
Exactly. The most obscure pub quiz question ever.
So I've got requests from Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Pakistan. We are working on building country-specific teams and also a global team for Cashier Books going forward.
Kudos to Jaiza and her team of volunteers for keeping this going, and I hope this little shout out helps to give you a little bit more encouragement that we see you, we appreciate you. Please keep doing what you're doing.
And thank you so much, Fatma, for inviting us on to the podcast today. We are very grateful for reaching out to us to talk about, like I said, what we love most. Thank you so much.
You can find them on Instagram at Care Share Books Library. So I wanted to share some of these stories and bring out the people working in the background a little bit more to the forefront.
يستاهلوا.
Yeah, wallah. Despite clearly being pillars of their communities, their stories aren't so well known. And granted, they clearly don't do this for the fame. There's a lot quicker ways to get famous in 2022, if you haven't heard, which with much less effort. So clearly they don't do it for the fame. But a little bit of appreciation and acknowledgement goes a long way, don't you think?
100%.
And by the way, to anyone listening, if I've missed out on another independent library that you know about and it wasn't mentioned here, it wasn't intentional. Please shoot me a message on our Instagram at thepapercut.club or find our Facebook page to let me know, and I'll definitely mention it at a later episode. Yeah, so I used to think that there wasn't a very strong community space for English language readers.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just after a couple of weeks of doing the show here on Arman FM, I'm starting to see a little bit of a different picture. You also thought that, people here, came up with these projects on their own independently. They don't know each other. And that's not the case, actually. Maybe they didn't know in the beginning, but they came to know each other because this community is so small and tight-knit that they all get to know each other really quickly. Like on the phone with each of these people, all of them were saying the same names of people in the background, helping each other out, giving each other resources. Everybody knows the same people in this small community. And so it's actually the opposite of what I thought it was in the beginning. I thought that everyone was...
like everyone's in their own little separate pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doing their own thing. But there's a lot more, like I said, community than I originally thought there was. And I actually love the way it's done here because everyone's off doing their own thing. But behind, like if you just take one step back behind the scenes, there's a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of respect and trust between the people who are sort of spearheading these projects in the community.
There's something so cool about that it makes me almost feel like I want to be a book reader so I can join. I want to feel a sense of belonging.
That's the point of the show.
It's how we indoctrinate people.
The first step of being indoctrinated is knowing how to say the word.
Yeah. Indoctrinate.
Yes.
Okay, music.
Yes.
Honorable mentions. Honorable mentions.
A couple of honorable mentions, by the way, that I couldn't miss out on. Chapter 1 is a local cafe/bookstore in Al Khouth. And P.S. that's my favorite combination of shops, so I'm surprised I haven't invaded it yet. They offer a paid monthly membership where you can get access to their entire substantial collection for a small fee every month. And if this was in my neighborhood, I know I would never leave their premises. You can check them out on Instagram at chapter1_books.
Awesome. I'll do that right now.
Yes, please do. Also, Muscat Moms is a local association of moms supporting other moms in the most amazing ways possible. My personal favorite feature of theirs is a children's book and toy library. It's open to members of the group only, but they can borrow books or toys for their kids from a really great selection that keeps growing and getting better. So, you don't have to spend 7,000 riyals on books and 9,000 riyals on toys in one visit to Borders.
I don't know. Borrowing toys for your kids, I feel like kids are...
Dirty?
Yeah. To put it politely.
No, for sure. I mean, it's always risky, but they definitely, I'm sure, place a very strong emphasis on hygiene. And just like how kids are... I mean, to be honest with you, the toys in the toy library are probably cleaner than the toys in...
At home?
in a home or in any park, in any public park.
Fair enough. Yeah. At least you know someone's paying attention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So no, I have no doubt that they take hygiene very seriously, and especially in the current environment. So you can find out more about them if you're interested in joining by searching for Muscat Moms on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, my final honorable mention would be to the Let's Read Oman initiative by Dar Al-Ata.
Oh, I heard of that one.
Yes, I was going to say, if you didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, I definitely heard of that one.
Okay, that's good. Do you know that they have a bookstore on the 3rd floor of Avenues Mall?
No, I did not know that.
What?
Yeah, I just know them from like their social media presence.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so it's good that they have a good enough presence that you would know about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. But it's actually really shocks me how few people know about this. This is the best kept secret, I think, in all of Muscat. So, for people who don't know, there is on the 3rd floor of Avenues Mall. Okay, first of all, let's back that up for a sec. There's a 3rd floor on Avenues Mall because people always ask me, like, what? There's a 3rd? Yes, there's a 3rd floor.
Okay. We need to establish this piece of information first. There is a 3rd floor.
Yes.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Second, on that floor, there is a huge library, bookstore, actually. So, library is a little bit of a misnomer. It's technically a bookstore. It sells books, doesn't lend them out. But first of all, the books are so cheap. They start at 1 rial, and that's it. They're 1 rial or 2 rials. 1 rial for paperbacks, 2 rials for hardcovers. And honestly, the selection is so good that I would say it's probably got one of the best selections of any bookstore, let alone like secondhand or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, people are donating their books and, God knows where they got their books from. So, the selection is just huge. There's all kinds of languages. There's an English section. There's a French, German,
Arabic,
Hindi section. There's Arabic, of course. So they have a lot. And I just couldn't do this episode without giving them a mention because for me, this is one of my favorite types of situations, like a win-win-win situation that I always like go on about all the time, where everybody gets something good out of it, which is I get a book for very cheap, so I don't have to break the bank, which is one win. Second win is that the charity gets they're charity funded, and the third win is that books don't end up in a landfill, which is like the saddest story of all.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, or they don't end up in recycling or whatever. They get a new lease on life, and literally hundreds of thousands of books probably get saved from the landfill just by these types of initiatives.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot to be proud about with these with all of these projects, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I really think every time I go to Let's Read on the 3rd floor of Avenues Mall, I always end up leaving with literally 10 books.
Yeah.
Because why not? It's the same cost of one book at a regular bookstore.
I see.
You know?
So you might as well.
So I might as well, exactly.
It does sound very you.
It does. Now I have piles upon piles in my living room. It's getting a bit dire now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't dedicate like a room to be your library.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it for sure.
Okay.
In conclusion, we've got independent libraries running all the way from Al Khouth to all the way down to Wadi Kabir, making books accessible to the public. Once again, a big thank you to the people behind all of these projects. You're all amazing! We're having a little isolated party over here. One last order of business.
What?
We've got a little competition running on the Papercut Club's Instagram page.
Sodom.
Yeah.
Ammar and Naimi.
Yep, that's
Yes.
right.
Okay.
So we've posted a picture of the gorgeous cover of Ammar's book. Do you know who?
Yes, Maymoon.
Yes.
I interviewed him here.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
It was quite an interesting conversation. That guy is trippy.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
you can tell from his artwork. It's so awesome. Like,
Yeah.
it's so unique.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ammar's book cover was designed by Maymoon, who that's what he's known as an artist, right? But his name is Muhammad Al-Attar.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can search for his art as well on Instagram at Mimoon, MIMOON_art on Instagram. You know him, we all know him. He's one of Oman's leading artists. Yeah. And I thought, his book cover is so amazing. I wanted to incorporate the cover into the competition, but also make it like a bit creative writing wise,
Okay. What are you going to do?
So if you want to take part in the competition, all you have to do after following the account,
Which one?
the papercut.club. So follow it and leave a 6-word short story inspired by the cover.
A 6-word short story. I totally want to try that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, this is how you can flex your creative muscles, and I'm sure you'll feel something when you see the cover, because it's so, you know what I mean? It's so evocative. It'll evoke something in you, especially if you're Omani, I feel.
That is cool.
Yes. So, yeah, give us a follow, leave a 6-word short story in the comments, and you might win a copy of Ammar's book. I'll get him to sign it for you, if he hasn't already. So the best short story wins a copy of the book. I'll be the sole judge, jury, and if I really don't like the story, the executioner.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen this side of you before.
Oh, you don't know me when I'm in competition?
No.
It's a different me. That's the other twin in Gemini, This is the one twin.
I see. Okay.
My other side is the judge side.
Right, considering we're going to be working together for some time, it's good that I see all
Yeah,
sides.
please. Never cross me in pub quiz trivia or anything like that.
Noted. Well, that was fun.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
I'm glad. We took a tour around Muscat in a different way. And I hope people who are listening are going to be like driving straight to one of those bookstores, to one of those libraries to try and find a good book for free.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be one of them.
Yay. I can't wait.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Abdullah, and working your magic as usual.
That's the effect that I'll be putting in.
Yeah, okay. The Papercut Club is a member of the Oman FM podcast collective. You can find all of Oman FM's latest shows and updates on Instagram at omanfm.om. This episode was hosted by me, Fatma Makki, and edited and mixed by Abdullah Al Maawali. You can find the Papercut Club on Instagram and TikTok at thepapercut.club, or you can look for us on our website at www.thepapercut.club. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Papercut Club on Oman FM.